The first story takes us to an ordinary day at Northwood High. It was a Tuesday afternoon, and the girls' basketball team was in full practice. Sweat dripped, sneakers squeaked against the polished gym floor, and the air was charged with the energy of competition. Coach Davies, a woman with a strong voice and a heart of gold, shouted instructions from the sidelines. Everything was normal, until the gym's intercom crackled to life with a harsh, distorted sound.
The voice was almost incomprehensible, but the word lockdown was enough to chill everyone to the bone. Coach Davies, with years of experience, reacted immediately. "Quick, to the locker room, now!" The girls, though confused, obeyed. The locker room, normally a noisy and lively place, became a silent, dark refuge. The coach locked the door and turned off the lights, leaving only the faint light filtering from under the door. The minutes dragged on like hours. The silence was so dense you could cut it with a knife, only interrupted by the nervous breaths of the girls. Suddenly, a sound, an echo, a basketball bouncing. It came from the gym. Impossible, thought the coach. No one else should be there. The sound repeated, louder this time, as if someone was dribbling slowly, methodically. 1, 2, 3, pause. 1, 2, 3, pause.
One of the girls, Sarah, an athletic and brave point guard, whispered, Is it someone from the team?" The coach shook her head, her face pale in the darkness. "We are all here." The bouncing continued, approaching the locker room door. The rhythm was strangely hypnotic, but each bounce resonated with a growing threat. Then, the sound stopped right outside the door. An even deeper silence fell over the locker room. The girls looked at each other, eyes wide, panic beginning to take hold. A soft knock. It wasn't a knuckle-knock, but a brush, as if a hand was caressing the wood. Then a slow drag, as if something heavy was moving down the hallway, away from the door. The sound faded, and silence returned, but this time it was charged with a sense of presence. Coach Davies, trying to remain calm, turned on her phone to check for updates. There was no signal. They were completely isolated. Then they heard it. A whisper. A name. Sarah's name. It came from the gym, a ghostly echo that seemed to float in the air. Sarah shivered, her eyes filled with terror. Who is it?" The coach hugged her, trying to calm her. The whisper repeated, this time clearer, closer. "Sarah, come play." The ball bouncing started again, this time faster, more frantic, as if the entity was impatient. The girls huddled together, fear palpable in the air. They were trapped, and something or someone wanted to play. The lockdown lasted 2 more hours. When the police and parents finally arrived, they found the girls in shock, but unharmed. The gym was empty, and there was no trace of any intruder. However, the team's basketball, which had been in the center of the court, mysteriously appeared in the locker room, right next to the door. And Sarah, brave Sarah, never played basketball again. Every time she heard the sound of a ball bouncing, her eyes filled with a terror that only she and her teammates could understand. The echo of the gym had stayed with them forever.
Willow Creek High School was known for its strict security protocol. Every month, without fail, a lockdown drill was held. Students and teachers were so used to it that they often took it as a break from routine. But the drill on November 15th was different. It started, as always, with the shrill siren indicating the alert. Miss Jenkins, the history teacher, instructed her students to get under their desks, as usual. The lights went out, the door was locked, and the classroom was plunged into darkness and silence.
The first 10 minutes passed with the usual mix of boredom and muffled whispers. But as time went on, a strange feeling began to take over the classroom. The drill normally lasted 15 minutes, 20 at most, but the clock kept ticking, and the all-clear siren never sounded. The murmurs turned into nervous whispers, and the whispers into a silence charged with anxiety. Miss Jenkins, the worried, tried to remain calm. "I'm sure it's just a longer exercise than usual," she said, though her voice didn't sound very convincing. Then they heard it. A scratching. Soft at first, then more insistent. It came from the outside wall of the classroom, the one facing the hallway. It wasn't the sound of someone walking or an object falling. It was a rhythmic scratching, as if long, sharp nails were scraping the surface. The students cowered, their eyes fixed on the door. Miss Jenkins approached the door, pressing her ear to the wood. The scratching stopped. An even deeper silence. And then a sigh. A long, cold sigh that seemed to pass through the door and fill the classroom. The creak of the wood. It wasn't the door opening, but the wood itself, as if something was pressing against it from the outside. Miss Jenkins backed away, her face now completely white. The students huddled in the farthest corner of the classroom, whispering prayers. The scratching started again, this time at the window. It was a high window with security bars, but the sound was unmistakable. Something was trying to get in. The tinkling of glass. Small cracks began to appear in the glass, spreading like cobwebs. The afternoon light, which had previously filtered in softly, now seemed distorted, as if the outside world had become blurry and threatening. Miss Jenkins, in an act of desperation, took a chair and placed it against the door, though she knew it would be useless if whatever was outside truly wanted to enter. The scratching grew louder, more violent, and then a voice, a guttural voice that seemed to come from the depths of the earth. "Let me in." The voice resonated in the classroom, making the students' bones vibrate. It wasn't a human voice. It was something ancient, something malevolent. The drill had ended a long time ago. This was real. The students screamed, but their screams were drowned out by the sound of the cracking glass and the voice growing louder. Miss Jenkins closed her eyes, awaiting the inevitable. And then, silence. Absolute silence. Miss Jenkins opened her eyes. The window was intact. The door closed. The students, huddled in the corner, trembled. The all-clear siren sounded loud and clear. The drill was over, but when they left the classroom, the hallway was strangely empty. There were no other students, no teachers, only the echo of the siren. And on the outside wall of the classroom, where they had heard the scratching, there was a mark of 3 parallel lines, as if something with sharp claws had tried to break through. Willow Creek School was never the same, and every time the drill siren sounded, students and teachers wondered if this time the drill would truly end. The last story takes us to Oak Haven Elementary, but not during the day, but in the quiet of the night. Mr. Henderson, the janitor, had worked at Oak Haven for over 30 years. He knew every corner, every crack, every sound of that old building. He was a man of few words, but his eyes had seen more than most people could imagine. One winter night, as he made his usual rounds through the basement, the school's security system activated. A silent alarm, indicating a lockdown. Mr. Henderson frowned. It was unusual. The school was empty, or at least it should be. The alarm indicated an intruder, but there were no signs of forced entry. Following protocol, he went to the monitoring room, a small room full of flickering screens. The cameras showed empty hallways, dark classrooms, but one of the screens, the one monitoring the east wing of the basement, showed something. A shadow. A moving shadow. It wasn't the shadow of a person, but something more diffuse, more elongated, as if the air itself had condensed into a dark form. Mr. Henderson, flashlight in hand, decided to investigate. He went down the basement stairs, his footsteps echoing in the silence. The air grew colder as he approached the east wing. The hum of the fluorescent lights seemed louder, more oppressive. The shadow moved among the shelves full of old books and abandoned equipment. It had no definite shape, but it moved with an intention, a kind of macabre dance. Suddenly a book fell from a shelf, then another, and another. They didn't fall with a crash, but with an unsettling softness, as if they were delicately placed on the floor. Mr. Henderson pointed his flashlight at the source of the sounds. The shadow was there, right at the end of the hallway, larger now, more defined. It seemed to stretch, as if it were absorbing the darkness around it. And then a voice, not a voice heard with the ears, but one that resonated directly in the mind.
"You shouldn't be here. You shouldn't be here."
The voice was a chill that ran down his spine. Mr. Henderson had seen many strange things in his years as a janitor, but this was different. This was something ancient, something that didn't belong in this world. The shadow began to move towards him, slowly but inexorably. The air became icy, and the smell of mold and dust intensified, mixing with a sweet, nauseating aroma. Mr. Henderson, a man who had never known fear, felt a chilling panic. He backed away, but the shadow was faster. It stretched out, enveloping him. He felt a pressure, as if thousands of invisible hands were grabbing him. The flashlight fell from his hand, and darkness engulfed him. The last sound he heard was the jingling of his keys as they fell to the floor, a sound that was lost in the abyss of darkness. The next morning, the teachers found the school in perfect order. There were no signs of intrusion, nor that the alarm had been activated. But Mr. Henderson was gone. His keys were found in the basement, right next to the monitoring room. And on the screen that monitored the east wing, the one that had shown the shadow, there was a frozen image, a blurry but unmistakable image, the silhouette of a man with his back to the viewer, walking into the darkness, and beside him an elongated shadow as if accompanying him. Mr. Henderson was never found. And on winter nights, when the school is silent, some say you can hear the jingling of his keys in the basement, and a whisper that says, "You shouldn't be here."
If these stories have sent shivers down your spine, don't forget to like this video, subscribe to the channel for more chilling content, and hit the bell icon so you don't miss any of our upcoming releases. Leave us a comment below with your own experiences or theories about these mysteries. Until next time, and remember, the bell always rings again.